I'm scrubbing through episode 306 to see what the question was or what the question was going to be
Not sure what you're talking about.
about art.
That was something
What the topic?
that's something I just asked on Discord. We didn't talk about it before.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right, let me silence my phone.
Oh yeah.
Not that I expect anybody to message me, because who would? But
You never know.
yeah,
All of a sudden, another Wes is missing thread could pop up, and you'll just get a bunch of notifications on your phone all at once.
right.
Did he freeze, or is he just being exceptionally still? Oh
Sorry.
no, he's just being still.
My,
Okay.
my brain fell asleep, but my body didn't. Okay.
All right.
Cool.
What's up, friends? You're listening to the Making Geeks podcast, a podcast for makers, families, and geeks. And this is our biannual episode, I guess. It's been
I
about
think
6
that's
months.
the right terminology for it. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. Yeah. So actually we should maybe make it seasonal. So we did talk in fall.
yeah.
Now it's spring. We skipped over winter.
There
Although
was no winter.
Who needs?
there's no
yeah.
winter in California anyways, so
Who needs
Yeah.
it?
that's true. uh it's always weird when we have such a huge gap between we record because there's so much that's happened and so much to get caught up with that it's kind of hard to know like where to start.
Yeah.
I guess how are you guys doing? I mean, we haven't even really talked online much.
Busy. Of course, everybody's busy, right? But
Yeah.
I got stuff to talk about, but we'll get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird on my end because I just attended a meeting last night at my son's school about all the prep for his senior year.
Wow.
So next calendar year is going to be a really interesting year because my son graduates high school and I turn 50. So that's, yeah.
You got some big
Things,
plans that you don't know about?
For me,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to do a big party or something. I have no idea what yet, but I'd like to do something. I'll let you guys know if any of that is feasible. Uh, but yeah, I mean, the big changes coming. He's looking at a lot of out-of-state schools. He's positioned himself really well to get into some good places. So
Nice.
you know, this might be my last full summer with my son.
Wow.
Has he decided like what he wants to try to pursue or?
Oh yeah, he's known for a while.
Oh,
Um, he wants mechanical engineering and aerospace as a path to work for Formula One.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's become a little bit of an obsession in the household over the last year and a half. We had a chance to go see the F1 race in Las Vegas in December, or was it November? I think it was end of November, and
yeah, November.
it was amazingly loud and crowded, and awesome. So um, it's going to be interesting. He's positioned himself really well for it. Um, yeah, so good things coming up. And then my daughter too, and plays, and she has her drones pilot license now, working in with the FFA also. For you guys don't know if you're not familiar with that term, it's the Future
Oh,
Farmers of
oh,
America.
it's in Napoleon Dynamite, so everybody should be familiar with that. You know
Well,
where
they
he
should.
he drinks the egg stuff.
Yeah,
No, the milk. To
Well,
see,
it's part of that. Yeah, well, that's right. He
this one
rates
walk
it.
through an onion
It's
patch
right. Clovers. That's right. That's right. I kind of
Yeah.
lump all that together, like the farming stuff. But you're right. It was where he judges it. Yeah.
the high school that my kids go to is one of the few schools in the area that has a farm program. My daughter's fallen in love with it, and she's taking care of goats and doing presentations in front of people for speech contests for it. A lot of changes really quick, and it's busy. like Wes said earlier. So
Yeah. Is there a tie-in between the drone program and the FFA?
there isn't. It just that I imagine this is the same at a lot of schools now. There's different pathways you can kind of pursue for a career experience or they call it CTE, which is what I teach, career technical education. She's in 3 different pathways at once. She's in for theater, for drones and
Oh, gotcha.
aerospace,
Gotcha.
and the farms FFA.
At some
And
point, they're going to herd cows with them, I would imagine, right? So.
well, maybe. I mean, she has one of her projects to actually fly it through the farm to
Oh,
document it
there you
for the school. And about a year ago, the school got a grant to start the aerospace program. So we have a room full, or they have a room full of like 10 flight simulators in there where they actually get to practice flying planes, and then they have the drones to go outside and fly too. So
That's super
cool stuff for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any cool stuff for you, or is it just teaching? I mean, I'm not implying the teaching isn't cool.
It's not.
Okay.
So technically, this is my 20th year teaching. I have roughly about 10 to 12 years left, so I cannot wait till I don't have my life run by ringing bells anymore. Not to retire, but just retire from teaching. I still want to do other things, but still doing the YouTube videos. I have one more laser video to do, but I'm really tired of lasers, if you could believe
I'm
it.
pretty sure the people that are listening to this consecutively, like back to back, they're like, he said that every time. He said that every time.
But at some point, it will be the last time I say it.
It's true.
Especially because I just struck a deal with Anycubic this morning where I might be one of a direct, not sponsor, but sponsorship, I guess, for 3D printers with Anycubic. I did a video for them a couple of months ago. It went really well. They liked the results, which means that they sold a lot of printers.
Nice.
So I'm on the list to get some of the new ones coming out. So I might have as many 3D printers soon as I do with lasers.
Jeez.
Which I think I still have 10 lasers in the garage.
It's almost like you need to move, but you need to find a real estate person who can ask. It's like, okay, how many 3D printers can this garage hold? How many lasers can fit in this space?
That'd be a great like measurement or metric for garage space.
Yes, definitely.
It's 10 lasers wide.
Yeah.
By 30 3D printers long. Okay. How about you guys? What you have been up to?
Man, that's fantastic. That's cool. I've been busy, I guess, in other ways. So much. I can't remember. 6 months seems so long ago.
It was.
And so much has happened since then. We were in Utah. I didn't say we're still in Utah, but at that time we'd gotten to Utah, and so that hasn't changed for us. We're still in Utah. I am no longer building playhouses. The reason why we came here was to try to tap into the Utah market of, a lot of money, because there's a lot of money here in the state of Utah, and family-friendly environment, and emphasis on families and all kind of stuff. And so we anticipated that the playhouse business was going to do really well. And honestly, like for about a month and a half, almost 2 months there, it was doing really well. We had orders coming in. We had a lot of people asking. I was talking to a lot of people, going to a lot of like conventions and trade shows and networking groups and stuff like that. It got to the point where I texted Wes. I'm like, help. And he came out and he helped me, build playhouses for a little while. I'm still finding his notes he left for me all over my shop, which has been a fantastic game that the kids and I play.
Oh, yeah?
I'm like, hey, go lift that up and see if Wes put his name in it. Or
you don't want to
whatever.
leave me alone in a room with a Sharpie. I tell you what, that right now.
I know. And all those times that you were like, I don't know, hiding behind a corner or something. I was like, is he picking his nose? Or what
No, I did all that
This
stuff
is
in
so
like
weird.
one. For some reason, I kept running into hurdles. I forgot about it until like the last day or something. And so like there was one 30-minute period where I was just like stashing crap everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a fun adventure for us to go through the shop and to see Wes was here, like written in the most random places. So it's like, okay, go find the next one.
I couldn't even tell you where they were all.
But then that momentum for the playhouses died out, and then dropped off. And so a few weeks ago, we had to make the decision to shut the Playhouse business down.
Do
And
you
so we're pivoting now.
do you think, just to bounce on that idea, do you think it was like because of the lull of the winter that there's no sales? Like, who wants to play outside in Utah in the winter? Like, if you're a kid,
Yeah,
like in a playhouse versus
but
like spring and
like
summer.
a lot of people that we were talking to at that time
Yeah.
was for developing stuff that was going to be coming in the
coming out.
spring.
I see.
Yeah, starting the design process, like building the models, going through. It's like, what's your favorite TV show? What's your favorite video game? Like, do
Right.
you want this to look like Minecraft or whatever? And all the momentum we had with all of these potential customers just fell through the floor.
Hmm.
And with the economy being what it is now, there's less fun money to be had. It's not that there's no
That's-
fun money,
That's
but
true.
there's
That's
less
true.
fun money to be had. So we had to have a series. I actually hired employees. I gotten to the point where I had employees, was hiring employees, and it was going really good. And then it just stopped. Everything just stopped. Had to let my employees go. Started doing everything by myself, which I'm used to. That was fine. But then when all of the orders just dried up, and the last playhouse that I built took almost 2 months to sell, I was like, this isn't sustainable. So
Hmm. Well, you took a good shot at it.
yeah. I'm a different person now too. That's changed. That's been a big change in the last 6 months.
I'm
I
afraid
don't
to
know if I
ask.
told you about that, Sean.
No, let's have you
Ah.
elaborate a little bit.
Okay, Wes and I had this conversation. So my wife and my son, both neurodivergent, and have been going to counseling and on medication, and doing all this kind of stuff. And when we came here to Utah, I was helping my wife do all the onboarding paperwork for her new psychiatrist. And part of the onboarding paperwork was going through that huge questionnaire. Anybody that has someone who's ADD or ADHD in their life knows what these kind of questionnaires are. It's like on a scale of 1 to 5, like 1 being not at all, 5 being every single day. How often does this happen? What about this? What about this? What about this? And so to help her out, I was going through all of these questionnaires and these forms and these surveys that she had to take. And I'd ask her the question, she'd give me the answer, I'd write it down and fill everything out. But while she was answering, I was answering all these questions for myself in my own head. And so I would ask a question, and her response would be like, well, 3, 4, 2, kind of like mid-range. And in my own head, answering these questions for myself, I was like 5, 5, 5, 0, 5, 5. And by the end of it, I'm like, you know what? There may be something to this. And so I scheduled an appointment with my doctor and went through and explained to him the situation. It's like, hey, I was helping my wife on board, went through this whole questionnaire, and I was answering for myself. And so he's like, okay, let's give you the test, the neurodivergency test. And so he pulled out the thing. I spent a while filling out all the bubbles, taking the test. And after it was all done, he came back in and broke out his reference guide and things like that, and added up all my numbers. And he's like, well, you got a 36. I was like, okay, is that good or bad? He's like, well, it's out of 36. I was like, oh, okay. So I scored 100% on that test. I was like, all right, yay me. And so we talked about it, and he prescribed me Concerta. And I cannot explain to you how different my life is now being on this medication. The best way that I can explain it is that, that feeling of like your ears being plugged, and you just get used to your ears being plugged, then all of a sudden your ears unplug, and there's that moment of like relief and the sensation of being able to hear again and things like that. It was like that, but in my brain. Because it's been a joke for years. And I say it on the podcast all the time. It's like, oh, my brain is broken. Oh, my brain is broken. And I'm always doing 40 different things at the same time. And, 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there, all that kind of stuff. And it's just been a lifestyle that I've been used to my entire life. And the day that I took that medication, it was like that sensation in my brain. It's like everything went quiet. And for the
Wow.
first time in my life, I have been able to think and to focus and be productive in a way that I've never been able to in my life, which has been really weird because I'm like in my 40s now, having to learn about myself again and how my brain works, stuff that you would think I would have figured out a long time ago. But yeah, it's been enlightening to
Wow.
say the least.
It's awesome, man.
It's
Yeah.
really good to hear. Working in education, I know that I don't know your particular situation, but there's a lot of times where something will be prescribed for someone, whether it's a student or other people I've talked to, where they take it and then they no longer feel like themselves. So the fact that it has a positive effect is really good to hear.
Yeah. I feel like a different person. And that's not hyperbole. Like I do feel like a completely different person since being on it in a good way. And apparently I'm very sensitive to medications and stuff like that. That's been the way it's been that way my whole life. But it's like I can tell the exact moment that it kicks in and I can tell the exact moment when it wears off because of how
Huh.
how sensitive I am to it. So it's been eye-opening.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Myself, let's see. Last time I talked, I think I was knee deep or getting ready to be knee deep in a project that I tag team with Turi from When Geeks Craft, where I was building a Pac-Man and 4 ghosts at like about 2 feet tall for one of the characters by 2 feet tall, and they're lanterns. We ended up finishing that project, so there was a. I'll just go the fast version. Every year, if you followed in my socials that I don't post on very often, the times that I would post would usually be around the beginning of the year, and I would participate in a lantern festival, where there's a parade here in my town in North Carolina. That I created a 4 foot tall Game Boy for. I created a TIE fighter and upgraded it over the years. Turi and I created a USS Enterprise, a Starship Enterprise, various things, and I participated and I've gotten to know the people that run it and the people that that work for the town of Cary in North Carolina that are like administrators that control like all the public art displays and everything. And it's like they're one of their main deals for the year. Is this Glow Festival is what they call it, or Glow Parade. And in the past we had done the paper mache style lanterns where you basically use like coffee filter paper instead of tissue paper because it's more like resilient and tougher, and you build a structure out of like bamboo or sticks or something, and then you cover it with this material. Then you put LEDs in it, and I put all as many LEDs like RGB LEDs in there, have like a little remote, and it just kind of cycles through the lights or whatever. Well, it's all well and good. We got kind of tired about like doing the same kind of style, and I asked my friends that run it. I'm like, hey, is there like any reason that we can't like do something a little bit different? Not you as a group, but just myself, kind of do a different kind of lantern. And they're like, yeah, like what did you have in mind? I'm like, well, just something completely different. Like I don't want it to be like trying to steal the thunder, but it's going to be very different visually. And I was sort of apprehensive about like suggesting that because I didn't want to ruin their event or whatever. And they've been doing it for 5 years. And they're like, one of my friends, she's like, art is meant to be disruptive. And I was like, bro, that's like the best thing. She's like, whatever you want to do, we know it's going to be awesome and you guys should do it. And so then I sent her a sketch and she's like, yes, you definitely should do that. So we built these 2 foot tall Pac-Man and Ghost lanterns. We used black LED acrylic, which is like a magic material that everybody should buy. Oh yeah, I released a YouTube video that covered this, by the way. Between Turi and I think I did the lion's share of soldering for the LEDs. Because of the way we designed it, we had to use these individual, like little puck solder, these little LED pucks that had to be soldered together manually. You couldn't just buy strips because of how we had to space them to get like the resolution that we wanted. And so there was like over like 950 hand soldered LEDs.
Oh my God.
Each LED had 6 solder points, so you can do the math on that.
So you got really good at soldering.
Yeah. I feel like I was already pretty good at it, but we had like a sweatshop.
He was even streaming on Twitch again.
I streamed the process a
I
little
didn't know
bit.
that. Wow.
Yeah, I bought a solder like vat. It's basically like a crock pot for solder. It's about it fits in your palm of your hand for the vessel, and you buy solder in sticks. You got to break it apart and put them in there, and it melts it. It's basically like stuff the Terminator is made out of, you know? That's what it looked like. But it's like super dangerous, and it's like super Chinesium hardware that I had to buy. It's very sketchy. Like as soon as I turned it on with nothing in it, it just started smoking. I was like, okay. I started looking it up. They're like, yeah, it's got to burn off like impurities or whatever. I'm like, sure, right. This is like Chinese Harbor Freight. Yeah, Chinese Harbor Freight stuff. Like, oh, that's kind of sketchy. But yeah, I think I only burned myself like 2 times, which is a friggin' miracle. Only had a couple errors. I was able to troubleshoot everything. We had these things working. I haven't released the full video of how they're built, unfortunately, because life. But we're planning on releasing 2 more videos detailing how we built these things. And the cool thing is they use ESP32 microcontrollers inside, and they all communicated with each other with Wi-Fi, like a local Wi-Fi connection between them, like ad hoc. And Turi was in the front. He had Pac-Man, which is a 2-sided lantern. The ghosts were single-sided by the time we finished this thing. And we had a controller on each one, and had a battery pack. So it was completely battery powered. They would last for about an hour and a half on these, and they're fully animated. So like the little fluttering of the ghosts, you could hit a button on the ghosts themselves, and it would make the eyes dart in a random direction. So every once in a while, they would just hit dart, 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 you know, whatever the person carrying it wanted to do, just to add some life to the character, because they never all look the same way. If they're, you know, going a different way in the maze, then they would change direction of their eyes. So we got that working, and the coolest thing is that Pac-Man, he's normally in the front of the crowd of the parade. Picture yourself lining up in a parade. Pac-Man's in the lead, and the 4 ghosts are chasing him, basically. At some point, Pac-Man, the leader, hits a special button on his thing, and it turns all the 4 ghosts blue. At the same time, and Pac-Man turns around, and then he's munching towards them. And so the people, as we're kind of progressing down the road, there's enough like space there to kind of play around. So the Pac-Man's like chasing the ghosts around. And then after a certain amount of time, all the ghosts start flickering unless he eats them. If Pac-Man passes you, there's another button you hit, and it makes the eyes show up only for the ghosts, so it simulates they ate you, right? And so, yeah, if you didn't eat them in time and if Pac-Man didn't pass you, they all either respawn or flicker, and then it starts over again, and Pac-Man runs away. There's only so much we could do because they were like about 15 pounds at the end of a stick, and we had like a literal fanny pack on our waist to hold, kind of like a flag bearer, like in a color guard or something. And it kind of
fishing too,
yeah. And that's how we kind of had it working. And we had like a little harness grabbing it. It was kind of DIY, but it worked perfectly. Everything was great. And people like lost their minds. It was great. It was so good.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I need to release the videos because I think I didn't really publish how awesome it was. We got video footage from like different perspectives. There's one that my wife got from like a high vantage point, and we were kind of walking below, and you see like the sea of people of all these different lanterns. And then you see Pac-Man and the ghosts, and because of the black LED acrylic, it really made them like kind of look hovering, like they're hovering in nothing around, with nothing around it. And it's just really cool. You don't see pixels about 2 inches for each pixel, like chunky pixels anymore. Everything's high definition. All pixels are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They're packing more in there. You don't see the pixels anymore. So we went the other direction. So it might be the largest low resolution Pac-Man displays that exists. I don't know. I'd like someone to send me something to counter that idea, but
yeah, call up Guinness.
That's right. Hey, Namco. Yeah. So that's a long explanation for the next part of it. So the other reason we did this different technology instead of the traditional lanterns is that we wanted to test the tech, we wanted to test the process, we wanted to test our kind of working relationship with me and Turi to make sure like how we get along in a collaboration. Like we never had a big collaboration, and this we started it in February, we ended it. Then it was almost a year from the start of the idea to like the end, and it was great. It was one of the best projects I ever worked on. It was very smooth. We finished each other's sandwiches, as they say, because we were just like so in sync with a lot of the stuff. We were just like not even finishing sentences and picking up on each other were saying. It was really kind of scary actually, and all this was like a guerrilla kind of attempt to get a good resume bullet or a good showing to the people that make decisions, because the other part of this festival is that there's the lantern thing, and then there's a 3-month period of time where they pay artists to create temporary art installations in the town, and they have to last outside in the winter in North Carolina for 3 months and bearing whatever the weather is, and they have to have light as their main component. And so we submitted a proposal and used all of our previous lanterns as examples and the Pac-Man thing, which everybody saw, and we got accepted to it. They approved our proposal, and we're gonna get paid like $20,000 to make stuff, which is crazy. I don't know if I told you guys that, but yeah, we're designing it now. It's gonna be a 7.5 foot tall like tesseract, where it's like you got an internal cube that's solid, and it's gonna have all LED panels on it, and then it's going to be connected diagonally to an outer framework of another cube that's going to have LED strips on it, and that's going to be on a trapezoidal like base. So it's going to be 7.5 foot tall, 7 foot wide base. It's going to be all welded. So I'm finally going to break out that welder. That is the eternal joke of the podcast. Yes, I'm going to finally break it out. Yep. It's going to be a moment. So we've created a budget. We had to submit like a wind load report and a bunch of stuff. We used Claude for a lot of stuff. We'll get into the AI thing in the podcast, and I think we'll touch on that. That's a very divisive subject, but it was pretty amazing. I'm not going to lie. The other part of this, which is kind of cool, I found out that I need to submit this proposal on a Tuesday, right? And that Thursday, I was planning on going to visit Josh of podcast fame, Josh Price. And we were going to go to a concert that weekend. I was expected to stay like a long weekend there, visiting him and his family. And I had to get a proposal submitted by the end of the weekend, because apparently I had missed the deadline, and they were kind of like, they snuck me in basically. Somehow I missed the deadline that was not published very clearly. I looked a million times. Anyways, that's another story. I got it in, but he basically like coached me on some of this stuff. And like I didn't even have the full idea for the proposal, but I kept like tossing ideas back to him, and he's like project planner. He's the project manager. That's his bread and butter. He loves that. And so I was on any time I was at his house not doing something, I was on my laptop with a double screen kind of thing going on, and he was helping me when I had a couple ideas, like what about this, what about that, and it was like a good banter session, and I definitely couldn't have done it without him. So you never know when this podcast, like fruits of the podcast, like get spawned, which is kind of exciting. But we'll fast forward. That'll be all displayed next January. I haven't signed the contract yet, so knock on wood. Hopefully, I still have it by then. But next January, anybody that wants to come out for the unveiling or whatever, like let's do it. Or if you want to come help me build it at any point, let's do that too. So we're gonna do some LED panels. I'm not hand soldering LEDs anymore. We're gonna use like the industrial, like commercial panels that you see like in Times Square. Like, yeah, it's gonna be legit.
So birthday party at Sean's house and a build party at Wes's house.
There you go. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There was a big deep dive there on what I'm up to, but it's exciting. Who else am I going to share that with but you guys? So we're very excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Congrats.
the
Thanks.
grant is great and all that, but you're gonna use the welder.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the welder will be used. Maybe I'll stream
Let's
it the
talk
first
about what's
time.
really important in this.
That's right. Harbor Freight welder.
So,
Yeah.
so that story and what you're talking about is actually a pretty good segue into a topic that I proposed that we kind of talked about a week ago, or at least I mentioned about a week ago. The topic I mentioned in a very general sense of just art. We've talked about a lot of art related things on here. Wes is going to have something on his resume as a professional artist here,
Boom. A new media artist, apparently. I didn't even know that
a
was
new
a thing.
media artist.
Hey, how about that?
So I guess I kind of kick it off. I just start with a general question, even though I kind of preempted a little bit. Um, do you guys consider yourselves artists?
Even before
I feel
this,
like
I would
that's a
say
trick
yes.
question.
Donovan, what was that?
I said I feel like that's a trick question.
No, it's not. It's not meant to be loaded. There's no preconceived anything with it. Just curious about your own perception of yourself. Okay.
He's nodding his head for the audio.
Sorry, for the
listeners.
listeners of the podcast, we're shaking our heads. Yes. Sorry, not shaking our heads. We're nodding our heads. Yes.
Because I don't consider myself an artist. Yeah. Even though I teach animation.
Expound on that a little bit.
Yeah. So my and this has kind of always been my thought process because I got into art by accident. So I don't consider myself an artist. I'm somebody who learned how to do art. And I consider that to be very different. And this is my own personal perspective on this. And one of the reasons why I feel that way is that people that I know are artists, whether they portray themselves that way or I see them that way, they tend to see the world different. They tend to see colors different. They tend to see things that a lot of other people don't see. For any of those boxes that I check, it's because I've been trained to do it, not because it's inherent to me. So once again, I consider myself somebody who has learned how to do art. I don't consider myself an artist.
So you think it's an innate ability that you're born with, or do you think that's like not legit if you have to learn it? Like everybody learns it though, right?
I think that people learn
Hmm.
the terms and I think they learn the structure, but I think a lot of the things inherent in the way that they see the world, I think it can develop over time.
Hmm.
Because we all get older, we all mature, we all see the world different just through experience. But I think that there are a fair number of people who are just simply that way, where they don't do art, or whether or not they produce art for a living, an artist is a description of who they are, not what they do. So, for instance, our friend of the show that we all know, Sarah from War Tooth Designs, I consider her an artist through and through. I think it's inherent to her being. I would never consider myself that way.
You think it's more like? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if I agree with your sentiment.
That's okay.
Because I think you're convoluting being an artist and being artistic as the same thing when I think they're two very different things. Because if you were to reframe your statement, I don't consider myself a woodworker. I'm just someone that learned how to be a woodworker. Like it doesn't fit outside the context of like being an art. And you may not consider yourself artistic, but I very much would consider you an artist.
Oh, I think I'm artistic. I just don't think I'm an artist.
No, I was saying reverse, positive, flip it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I flip it. and for a woodworker, and this might seem really weird making this comparison. I don't see woodworker and artist as on the same level of what I'm talking about.
No. I wasn't saying they are on the same level. I'm just saying, like, if you were to reframe your statement in any other context, I don't consider myself an accountant. I just learned how to do accounting. Like it doesn't quite fit the same.
I think
But it's like your art is your profession, and it's like we've all watched videos of you like making coasters that look like they're screen caps from Marvel movies, or all of your
that's not
3D
art.
printing stuff. And the no,
That's not art. I mean,
is it though? Is it
no,
though?
I didn't create the image. All I did was go through a process to get it onto a tile. I don't consider that art at all. There was no real creation in that process.
What about your
So
Pac-Man stationary set?
I
first of
love the
all,
head turn.
well, because I have it right there. I have it right there.
Yeah.
And the crappy craftsmanship is staring me in the face. So because I had an artistic idea, I don't think that makes an artist. I think that what I'm seeing here is like, okay, well, there's some creativity. I see creativity as separate from what I'm saying. So maybe I can explain it this way. I think artist is a description of personality as opposed to the ability to just to create something. I think it's a personality trait.
Hmm.
Okay. I think I'd have to mull that over for a second, but okay. I think I'm picking up with your putting down.
Yeah, and so I guess part of why I started even thinking about all this stuff, there's a couple different reasons. Um, so if anybody's listened to the show for a while, you know that I teach animation. I've been doing so for close to 8 years now, and I've been building up skills, and most of the work I do now is digital, and a lot of the digital tools that I have so many things built in to make the process easier. So much so that I was drawing on paper the other day, and I was looking for the undo button. I mean, mentally, I was. I'm like, I want to scale this. I want to move this because I've learned how to work so fast in Photoshop, and I can iterate so fast. But on paper, I can still draw fairly well. I just can't iterate as fast. I can't change as fast. Um, and it got me thinking about, well, where is the art then? Is it still art? Is it still being artistic? Because so much of the technology is providing a crutch. I'll give you another example that kind of perpetuated this thought. Have you guys ever used Procreate on the iPad?
Yep.
Okay, I haven't, but I see videos of people using it, and I see the functions built into it for creating a gradient or creating a perfect line. And I started thinking about skill. I mean, I know that there's always going to be some skill on some level, but if you had to assign a percentage to skill versus, and this is probably a bad comparison, but I think you'll understand the intention behind it. Out of 100%, how much of that is the person's skill, and how much of that is reliance and the program
Propping up their
making,
effort.
yeah, perfect, propping up the effort. Donovan's about ready to have a coronary here.
I have so many thoughts on this.
I know, and that's why I want to talk to you guys.
Okay, I think I know what you're getting at. Like,
Okay.
I do. I
Perfect.
thoroughly disagree.
All right. Perfect. And I'd love to hear it.
Makes for a good
If
episode.
we're on
Yeah.
a spectrum, you're at one end. I think I would be at the other, because, and the only reason why I say this is because woodworking tools have gotten better.
I knew this comparison would come up.
A miter saw does a much better job than a pull saw, and a CNC does a much better job than a miter saw at cutting a piece of wood. But regardless of the technology, the skill is still needed to build something out of wood. Not to bring it back to woodworking, like for every example, but I mean, people don't really do hand-drawn animation anymore, but the art of animation is at the same level, regardless of whether or not the technology makes it easier. Like people, like hand drawn animation moved people back in the day. And then Pixar came along and computers made the animation process easier. And Pixar movies moved people through a different medium. Like, medium is the message. Like, yeah, the medium is going to change, the technology is going to change, but the process is still there. Like, you may not consider yourself an artist. I totally disagree, because I've seen what you make, and I've seen what you create, and I see what you draw, and I see what you teach, and I see what you do, and that is, to me, like, is the embodiment of being an artist. Because being an artist is like, is sharing your art with other people. If you didn't, if you were Picasso or whatever, and you sat in your room and nobody ever saw what you did, no, I wouldn't consider you an artist, regardless of your talent or ability. But like, the crux of being an artist is the fact that you share your art with other people so that they can experience that as well.
If
It's
you're
not just a you thing.
yeah,
Go.
let's say if the thing that you create elicits an emotion out of the viewer, then to me that's art, and the person that created it is an artist. Like, I think there's like a little bit of like gatekeeping that's going on, similar to like people that were like traditional woodworkers don't want people that use power tools to be considered woodworkers, or people that use CNC to be or like artists, like when they were like traditionally trained artists, they had apprentices, right? That they had to go through a huge process for them to like the apprenticeship and like this whole thing and like the status, and like you can only deal with like, you know, kings or, you know, it's like a whole societal structure that was like wound into that, which I think did a disservice, and I think it kept that whole um, that whole world away from people that had the skill to do it. They just didn't have the means to obtain the items to do it, to create it. And so there's like a gatekeeping that went on. And so now over time, more and more people, like there's more artists alive today than there ever been in history. Whether or not people have seen them, you know, there were a lot fewer of them back then, so they stood out. But now, like, does that diminish or dilute the the value of the art because it's more achievable, it's more attainable by the masses? I don't think so. I don't know. I love these kinds of discussions because it really gets you thinking. But like, also, like when photography came out, oh my gosh, traditional painters, you know, saw the writing on the wall for that one. Like, oh, we were the ones that you went to capture those images of, like, you know, scenes or buildings or what have you, and now you hit a button. Are you kidding me? Like, there's no skill in that. But now photography is considered an art. You know, it's just like a natural evolution of technology and people's like adoption of it. There's going to be the people that are left behind, or the people that look forward, and then maybe there are people that can do both and appreciate both. Like, that's what I tend to think of myself as. But it's hard to do that. I don't know. I love these kinds of discussions, but I think you're definitely an artist. I think you need to throw away those preconceived ideals, like, you know, the whole woodworker thing. Obviously, we keep going back to that, but, you know, it's like the 3D printing. Like, is that really? Are you a maker because you hit a button? All the people that actually have 3D printers, for the most part, know that there's way more to it than that. If you're 3D modeling, is a 3D modeler an artist just because they're not ever touching a thing, like a tangible output? I don't know. I think as long as the creator has an intention, and even if the intention isn't what the end result is, if it elicits an emotion from someone viewing it, then it's art. I'm like a most simplistic.
So I'm going to say something a
Definition.
little bit weird here, but before I do that, I kind of want to just say it for the record. I didn't bring this up because I'm trying to justify whether or not I should be considered an artist.
Right,
In a
right.
way, in a way, I actually don't care.
More
Yeah,
philosophical. Yeah.
yeah, it's philosophical, and I mean, I might make my living teaching animation, but I don't make my living producing art. Uh, per se, I know that
Okay.
that could probably generate another debate. So here's the weird part. the way that and this is one of the reasons why I don't consider myself an artist, and I'm not trying to keep the that specific debate going on, but the way that I look at producing art isn't that much different than how AI so-called produces art. Because to me, when I'm drawing or trying to do something that is somewhat artistic, I feel like I'm a little bit more like a calculator.
Like formulaic.
I know, yeah, I'm formulaic. It's procedural for me. I know it's this step, then this step, then this step. Oh, I saw somebody do this. I could probably do it that way. It's almost like computer code in my head of how I'm trying to recreate things. And that's why my stuff always looks just a little bit off because I'm not an artist. I'm looking at this procedural process of trying to create this thing. Yeah, there's creativity involved in trying to mix and match and play almost like, like Play-Doh and stuff. Um, but that's kind of my process in creating. So it's going to be kind of like a light segue into talking about AI, but it's kind of why I see it differently than uh, maybe some other people.
Yeah, yeah. The whole AI thing, that's getting to be a very touchy situation.
I
In a
know.
lot of different ways. Like even more than like 6 months ago, like I think the tide is shifting in a lot of different areas, or the audience that is like being the most vocal, or they're the ones that are being vocal. So maybe it's not that way, but like it seems like people are like, oh, cool AI, and like now like
Yeah.
the ramifications of what that could lead to are making people choose a side. There's not many people that are in the on the middle of the fence and can see both. But then, it's very political almost in a way. Like it's like left or right, like AI or not AI. There's like not a lot of space in the middle for people to live.
And I'm struggling with this right now for a couple of different reasons. One is there's some projects I want to and need to do
Yeah,
that I might have to be reliant on AI just because I don't have the time to maybe do it all from scratch.
right.
And two, I am getting 4 to 5 offers a week for promoting AI program slash software. And there's one that I was going to do that's one of the it's one of the AI sites that you put in a picture and it generates a 3D model. It's not meshy AI, but it's
Mm-hmm.
one very close to that. And I've been battling in my head back and forth for 3 weeks about whether or not I should do this. And I'm kind of like at a stalemate for whether or not I should do it because of the perpetuation of it. I mean, there's ramifications for me doing it.
Yeah,
Personal, professional, like what do you mean by
Both.
yeah,
ramifications? Both.
Well, I mean, the ethical and moral is the personal, and the professional is when I have students who watch what I do, and we talk about AI on a regular basis, and they will. I have some students who will actually yell in class about AI, like, "Oh, stupid AI," and because I've been teaching them for the last however many years to build a skill drawing and doing things, traditionally or quote unquote traditional. Um, and then to introduce something like AI, they feel they would probably feel a little bit hurt, and that matters to me. So, although it's going to be a part of our future, one way or the other, to some degree.
that that's how I view it. Yeah, it's tough. Um, how do you feel about it, Donovan? You haven't said much about
About which part?
it. All of it.
Anything.
I've already mentioned
I
I already mentioned Claude, and I have a feeling that several
Yeah.
people like their view of me maybe got downgraded just because I mentioned I had used an AI tool, even in programming. Like I think the tide is shifting, even like using it as a tool, not necessarily like generative, like visual, stuff. I think it's not that much of a differentiation in some people's minds, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm on the side that like AI is a tool is kind of following the same line that you were going on earlier about gatekeeping new technologies, and whenever one is adopted, like the old guard comes in and says,
Yeah.
well, this isn't real art, that's not real woodworking, this isn't real talent because a machine is doing that kind of thing. So like that's just a repetitive conversation. So as a tool, I would say, yeah, AI is a great tool. It's not the end all be all, but it is a tool. AI is art. No, I don't. I don't I don't like to promote AI as art because I don't consider AI art. I consider AI a tool. So it's like having a tool that can take a picture and turn it into a 3D model, I think is a great tool, because not a lot of people know how to 3D model, but they want to be able to like do something with a 3D model. Not a lot of people know how to just do a lot of things, but it could be a tool for accessibility, for function.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the side of AI as a tool for accessibility for function rather than art, because I think those are two very different things. Um,
Luckily enough, courts have upheld that you cannot copyright generated AI generated art, or anything generated in an artistic sense cannot be copyrighted with AI, and that copyright can only be awarded to created by a human. So we have at least a legal backing and support for that notion. It doesn't stop it from being created and being mass produced and changing hands or whatever else, but at least that for the time being.
yeah, I think that mass produced part is an important part to make, an
Mhm.
important distinction, because I had this conversation with my son a few days ago, because he is really good at math. He's like his mom. He's a smarty pants in a really good way. He's good at math. He's good with numbers and analytics and calculating, all that kind of stuff. But he doesn't consider himself very good at art, even though like his dad and his older sister constantly are just drawing and coloring and painting and crafting and doing artistic things. And so there's this sentiment that it's like art isn't important. And so the other day I was trying to get a point across to him of why I think art is so important. And I explained it to him in the sense that, math is there, and we just need to discover it. Like there's there's laws about math that once you prove that they're true, they're always true, and they've always been true. We just didn't know they were true yet. And so if Pythagoras hadn't discovered the Pythagorean theorem, like somebody else would have discovered the Pythagorean theorem. And it's like, and when we discover those things, they're true, and they've always been true, and that's just the nature of the world that we live in. I was like, but art, and I picked up a picture that he had drawn earlier that he said wasn't very good. I'm like, this will never, this moment, this picture that you drew, this little cartoon, this stick figure will never exist again, ever, in history. You can try to replicate it, and you may be able to draw something similar, but this right here, like this can never be created again. This is singular to this moment. And I'm like, math will always be there. Like the formulas will always be there, the answers will always be there, but this little drawing, I think, is so important, because like this will never exist again, ever. Like it is so unique for that moment, and that's why I love your drawings, even though you don't like your drawings, that kind of thing. And so that's part of the argument I make about AI and why AI is not art, is because it is not singular to a moment of creation. Like it can be mass produced and replicated, and we see that all the time in social media, how mass produced and replicated that is. And that's just not art to
So,
me. I know some people may disagree, but to me that is my
so with
focus.
that
That is my
with your example, just to play devil's advocate for a moment. So do you prefer Bibles that are handwritten by like monks because you feel like that they're passing the true word down because it's like human to human, or if it's printed mechanically in mass, with the printing press,
I
do
love
you
how
feel
Wester's the bot.
do you feel that it loses an intrinsic value there and that it's not worth your time? Is it like lose its value because it's mass produced?
No, I don't think it loses its value because it's mass produced. But I mean, the oh man, I don't think the content loses its value, but if you were to like put those two side by side, like a Gutenberg, mass produced toward, compared to one that was handwritten by monks for centuries, which one holds more value? The one that was written by monks, because it's singular, like it's singular to that moment of creation.
Kind of odd comparison in a lot of ways, since the words and what they represent probably should be more the value as opposed to how the words are put on the page, but might be getting into a different conversation here.
Yeah, I mean, we can get deep into that. Yeah.
I mean, if they're spoken to you, do they hold more value than them being physically printed on a page? We we could extend this so far.
In 1470, Niccolo Perotti noted, "Printers are now turning out trash, the books that were so badly edited that the world would be better off not having thousands of copies of corrupt text in circulation."
Well, that sounds like the human intervention of changing things or making mistakes.
Right.
Although there were mistakes made in handwritten ones too.
A Dominican friar and scribe named Filippo de Strada viewed the press as a vulgar machine that threatened the sanctity of writing, and he argued she, the written word, is a maiden with a pen, a harlot in print.
Wow, they made it sexual.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting. I just like that. I love the social commentary, and I almost like that more than the actual beginning and end. Like the subjects of these things, I like more of the philosophical debate.
So are we being the old curmudgeons by not just accepting the change that might be inevitable?
I
It's
wouldn't say I'm not accepting the change that might be inevitable. I think I'm accepting it. I use it every single day as part of my professional career. Like, I'm part of a team now at Trimble that tries to educate people on implementing AI into a professional like workforce setting. So like it's literally part of my daily life. And Wes is using Claude, so I don't think we're like old man yelling at sky, but I
No.
think there is a point to be made about not losing perspective. Um, what is the saying? Not missing the trees through the forest, or
Not seeing the forest for the trees.
yeah, like missing the forest through that kind of thing. Is there are ramifications for all of this, no matter how excited you are, no matter how against it or for it you are. Like, this is going to change things, and we could be for it or we can be against it, but that change is still going to happen regardless. But I think we need to understand like our place in it, and especially understand like what effect it's going to have on us. I just read like a news article today about how technology and especially AI is making kids dumber, and so our
Yeah, that's
national
happening.
testing averages are just plummeting because of this implementation of technology and AI, and not learning how, like students not learning how to learn, being so reliant on these devices. And so we can't say, well, let's just take all that technology out and go back to, you know, slate and chalk, that kind of thing. But like, we need to keep perspective on what the effect that these are going to have.
Well, I think there's a somewhat a clear fork in the road when it comes to AI. So one is being used to answer questions and solve problems. The other is to generate what we would typically call like creative work,
emulating a human.
emulating
Yeah.
human creativity.
Yeah.
might be a better way to phrase it, at least for the moment. But in terms of answering questions, as long as we can continue to evolve and improve our data sets, we kind of should be somewhat okay. Um, but I'm wondering too if tasks that AI can complete are so near flawless at this point and so dependable, is it worth it to? I hate I'm saying this out loud, but it's a question I think that should be thought about. What is the value of still teaching how to do some things by traditionally? And because we could go back to our same comparisons of technology taking over. How many things do we that we would have known how to do at one time or would have had to have done at one time that we don't do in modern times?
What is your answer to that?
I can't in my right mind um, agree to things still not being taught or still not holding younger people accountable for being able to do things without assistance. And working in education for almost 20 years, I've seen the evolution of what's happened socially with kids over those 20 years and a lot of the driving factors of what has perpetuated those changes. Part of it being technology, part of it being technology affecting social, and then social policies and politics on top of that. So if I look another 10 years down the line, I don't see any kind of improvement still going down this path. I'll give you one simple example, although it's not directly related to AI. Several years ago, uh, probably 10 to 15 years ago already at this point, they stopped teaching cursive at a lot of schools. Um, with that, they didn't just stop teaching cursive; they actually stopped. They didn't stop teaching like writing by hand, but I think there was less emphasis on writing well and actually the continual practice of being able to write clearly and well. And what happened during that time was that computers were introduced a lot earlier for kids, and that means that they learned how to type, so they could type really well. But what happened, what was lost in that process, is that when you write a letter by hand, that is a different shape that you are writing, and it's a different connection you're making with your brain. When you push a key on the keyboard, it is the exact same motion no matter what. I think that connection with the brain was lost.
Yeah. Kind of going back to your earlier point a little bit to tie it together, I think regardless, there will always be a desire for skill.
Mm-hmm.
Like people still buy records. Like there's an entire row of LP records in Target whenever you go to Target, and that is an old technology. Like people still watch hand drawn animation.
Well, the
Like
record thing
there,
is a consumer point,
no,
not
I
necessarily a
understand, but
skill.
It's almost a
it's
bucking
like
of a
you're
current trend too, like of all digital, all non-tangible, and that goes flies in the face of that.
Well, we're
Um,
we're evidence of that in a way with the start
yeah,
of the maker movement.
right.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. But it's like I think there will always be a desire for it. Always.
But I think we have to be careful with that notion because I think that kind of welcomes throwing caution in the wind and expecting that things will always be around. And I don't. I think that's a potential dangerous way to expect life to be or
Sure.
to things to take care of itself.
Sure. Imagine that you know that trend
I mean, are
continues.
we churning butter?
Right.
Are we going back to that?
Well, imagine
Light
that
light.
trend continues for the 30 years and the downward, you know, digression of like people's skill set, and then there's like a catastrophic like EMP or all the something happens where like all technology doesn't work anymore, all digital technology doesn't work anymore, clouds go down, the cloud goes down, well, then there goes all your AI, pretty much.
What
You
YouTube
know?
video are they going to watch to learn how to do it?
Right. Well, yeah. How screwed
They're,
would
they're
they
not going to
be?
inherently know that skill.
They have to go back to physical created manuscripts or printed text to see how to repair something, because the digital Wikipedia article for how to fix your car is no longer there, right?
Yeah,
So-
but will they be able to read?
Will
Because
they?
they won't
I don't
have
know.
voice from
That's
text.
true. That's true. Is that what happened to the Mayan civilization? Did they end up with like a ancient version of AI that something happened and then that destroyed their whole way of life? I don't know.
ChatGPT self-destructed.
Abducted by aliens, yeah.
Yep.
All good questions. I mean, it's not even to delve into like the whole, power consumption, water consumption, data center stuff, or the whole ethical mining of people's works that haven't like signed off that they want those to be included in data sets for training AI. Like those are whole other ethical things that would take, another hour a piece just to even like break into. It's like, so it's, it's
I've been I don't do it as much right now, but say about the last 2 to 3 years, I was experimenting with generative art because I wanted to see where the limits were. I wanted to understand how it worked. And part of the prompting that was shown or shared was actually including the artist's name that you wanted to emulate. And when I did that, I did a couple samples from Boris Vallejo and like Frank Frazetta. And when it generated the image, it 100% looked like it was in the style of those artists, which means that the data set in the LLM understood it, which means it had a reference for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of weird seeing that at times.
Yeah. I don't know where we go from here.
I don't either, because it's kind of an ever evolving thing.
Yeah.
So something I will say that is kind of interesting, because now we're seeing a lot of news of like, the fall of AI, the limits of AI. Last summer, you guys know, because I told you guys about it, I got to sit down and have drinks with somebody who has direct knowledge of this stuff. And he had told us, the small group that we were in, about one of the major AI companies that would probably not survive the year. And it looks like it's probably going to happen, because these companies are not making that much money. They have huge evaluations.
Right.
But they're actually not able to generate, especially when you project out far enough.
It's a stack of cards. Yeah.
It is required to build and sustain. And, people might be playing with this stuff, but we're not willing to pay for it on that level. So we're going to see, we might start seeing some consolidation, and we might start seeing some slowing of the progress, at least for the masses. For the big corporations and businesses where this is actually being productive for them, at least in the problem solving sense, they might be willing to pay for like enterprise solutions regarding this. But for the masses, we actually might see a little bit less access. I mean, Sora Sora that went away, or CD.
Yeah, Sora.
I think that is a small canary in the coal mine.
Mm-hmm.
Disney had a multi-billion-dollar deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney found out from the press release. They didn't even tell Disney ahead of time. Shame on Disney for even doing that to begin with, but I can't. I'm not that surprised.
I mean, I guess they figured if their stuff was going to be used, regardless, they wanted a voice in the conversation to control it somehow. I don't know.
Well, not only that, but Disney had given them, I think, 20 characters, like permission here.
Right.
Create models of these 20 characters, and let's see how it goes.
I don't know.
Interesting stuff.
I'd be interested to come back in a year and see how things have progressed. We should check in, like the yearly AI check-in, just to see the state of things.
Well, at this point, it'll be episode 309.
That's right. Right.
So you guys want to hear something funny? Is Wes, you remember that AI generated version of me talking that you generated like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You know how many times I actually pull that out and play that for people as the start of a
Oh, yeah.
lecture conversation?
Yeah.
I've played it probably no less than 10 times, leading in saying, that's not me.
Yeah.
And that was generated over 2 years ago.
With a minute
And
of voice. And it's
Yeah,
even
and
better now. Yeah.
I've used that for some lectures and talking to, in front of the staff, at my school and stuff to
Yeah.
kind of educate on various things. So it's interesting that it's been a big point of conversation. And we were looking at it as a way to possibly, do and we were thinking like from a funny point of view. It's gone so much further since
Yeah.
since those first generated.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's crazy. I used Notebook LM, and so I'll take like a huge text or data set into Notebook LM, and it'll pump out an 8-minute podcast of two people talking about all of the information within that thing, and it's dumb how good it sounds, but yet at the same time there's this undercurrent of like something feels wrong about this. Like, I understand it only because I understand what it is. It's like knowing what's in a hot dog and then
Yeah.
eating a hot dog. It tastes the same. The experience is the same, but knowing what's in it just like it changes it. Changes it a little bit.
I wonder what the limits of our perception are, though, because we can still detect it. At least a good number of people. There's some people that can't, but they're also not really
It's
looking for it.
generational too.
I think it's generational too. Like my dad would probably not be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
But a lot of us can. But I wonder what the limits are of our perception of being able to detect.
It's getting harder. It is getting harder.
It is getting harder. But if I'm looking for it,
Yeah.
I can still typically tell. My wife had shown me a video that one of a family member had posted. I think it was in Virginia or somewhere, where they were handing out gun magazines to like groups of people, and in that group, that line walking up, they handed one to a kid, and my wife was like, "Oh, that's AI. No, it's AI. They'd never do that and hand it to a kid." I looked at the video in 2 seconds. I'm like, "Honey, that's real." So now it's
the inverse.
It's not knowing
Yeah.
which is which. Yeah, the invert. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of that whole conundrum where it's like, imagine you're like at a flea market and you find the most beautiful like landscape portrait of like a castle. It's like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. You hang it on your wall. Your family loves it for like 20, 30 years, and then you go to change the frame and you come to find out that it's made by Adolf Hitler in his like heyday. Like, does that instantly lose value? Was it valuable up until the moment you learn that? Like, to me, it's similar. Like, once you find out it is AI,
That would hurt my head so bad.
like
Yeah.
you like this video, you thought it was hilarious, like whatever it was of these babies doing this or whatever. Like, let's say it's not so far fetched where just the lunacy of what the subject matter is, like it makes you generally laugh and like have a human reaction to it. Is that reaction then invalidated when like next week you learn, oh, that was actually AI? What is the feeling behind that? Do you feel like gutted? Do you feel misled? Is it like a Santa Claus kind of thing, or it's like, oh, we just told you Santa Claus wasn't real? Like there go, it's interesting. Like knowing and not knowing can change, like you say, change the perception of it and the
that
value of
experiment
it.
should be done if it hasn't already been done, and it should actually be done twice. So like one like right now, and like 6 months from now, like the same thing.
Yeah.
And see if people's reaction is softened to it.
Right.
It'd be interesting.
Or hardened because people were all up in arms against it. Yeah.
God, that too. Yeah, swayed by social sentiment.
Yep.
Damn.
Like, is it okay to like the Cosby Show? It's almost the same thing to me. Like, I love that, but then you find out like he did all this crap. Well, okay, it sucked for a while. You can't show it. You can't admit that you liked the episodes because of the creator. Well, then you got acquitted. Okay, now does that mean since he's not actually guilty of it? I don't know. Like, like it keeps flip flopping. Am I allowed to
Yep.
like the Cosby Show? Am I not? I don't know. Like, it's
I think we take a stance and we defend ourselves and not care as much about what other
the
people
art
think.
versus the artist. Like, it's the same.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Harry Potter.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Yeah. Right.
Too soon.
You say that, but
Well, I
it's
mean,
very much a conversation going on right now.
no, I meant too soon for the remake.
Oh
No,
yeah,
not,
well that too.
not too soon for the conversation. The conversation is kind of funny, but yeah.
Whew.
So, what are you guys geeking out about?
On that note of can you enjoy something because of the artist, the trailer for Good Omens season 3 came out, and I loved the book by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I love season 1, I love season 2. I'm excited about season 3, but there is that undercurrent of like, should I like this?
Is it because of
Am
Terry
I allowed
Pratchett?
to like? No, because of Neil Gaiman, because of all
Uh,
the sexual
uh,
abuse allegations against him that came out a year ago, and then he was dropped from the project, and so they did it without him, and so, but there's still that association. Like, Good
Mhm.
Omens is forever associated with Neil Gaiman, and yeah, I'm still excited. It's still a fantastic story. It's still amazing characters. It's still like, I think it's going to be good. But on that note, there is that undercurrent of like, am I allowed to like this? Like, should I be against this? How
I'm
should I feel about
I'm still waiting for people to forgive John Lasseter so he could come back to Pixar and make a decent damn movie.
See, there you go.
Yeah, I know.
But that's what I'm geeking out about.
Should I go, Wes, or you
Yeah.
got something?
Please.
All right, so I'm going to be greedy. I got two. First one is a YouTube channel, although I've been primarily been watching shorts of this guy. His name is Chris Bowden. He's an engineer, kind of foul mouthed. Always talks about engineering stuff. He works a lot with like electricity and electrical plants. I just find it entertaining and funny. Like I say, he's kind of foul mouthed. Probably, if you guys know the channel AWE, um, like him, but I think better and funnier and a little bit less grumpy. But that's something kind of like a guilty pleasure. But the bigger thing I'm geeking out about is a book series. I know we don't talk about books on here a lot, but there's a book series called Dungeon Crawler Carl that's gotten huge. And I've bought all the books. I'm through book 4. I'm working on a T-shirt design for a contest right now. I've gone like all in on this. In a new category of or new genre that I didn't even know existed called Lit RPG, for like a
Yeah.
literature RPG. Did not know it was a thing. Uh, just by chance, I thought the cover was interesting, and I got the first copy for Christmas. By February, I'd already read the first 3 books, and they're beefy books too. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on like 2 different Facebook groups. People are having meetups. I don't know if I'm going that far with it, but it's a weird movement, and the books are, as my students would say, unhinged. Gore, ridiculousness. It's a cross between Hunger Games, Running Man, and Ready Player One, and D&D. So I feel like AI just wrote a series for me. Although that series written by a guy named Matt Dinneman, which the guy has a weird mind to write all this stuff. But that's what I'm geeking out about.
I would compare it to like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy a little bit more. Especially like the first chapter in that book, when like most people disappear, and then you got the guy that comes on the loudspeaker throughout all the earth. It's like, oh
Yeah.
hey, if you're still alive, like, head down to the dungeon. Welcome to fantastic books. I totally agree with you.
So you read
But
them
I
too?
would throw, yeah, I would throw Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in that notable
Which
comparison for
which I've
Death of
never read that
Trafalgar.
book. So yeah,
Oh, that's another good one
I
too.
know, I know. All right, Wes, your turn.
My turn. This weekend I'm going to an event that is also featuring something that's foul mouthed, I guess. We're going to, my wife and I are going to a comedy show. Yeah, it's Randy Feltface, if you're familiar with
Yeah.
comedy. He's apparently a huge star in Australia. Think Muppets, but like vulgar.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and it's a comedian. It's one character. You don't ever see the person that's puppeting, I guess. It's a stand-up show with a puppet. It's quite funny. There's a lot of crowd work and like dishing out insults and making fun of people, all in good fun. So that's we're gonna see that this weekend in Charlotte. So we're excited about that. Something different. Um, yeah. I
That's awesome.
it, while I was racking my brain coming up with the thing I'm geeking out about, I realized that the thing coming up is the summer, and I think we should do another summer movie wager because I quite enjoyed that from last year. It took up 2 episodes from our like 4 or whatever that we recorded. So I think just in that, it's a good motivation to get back on here sooner than later because it's not going to be very long before they start popping off here. So
Yeah, by actually within the next 3 weeks, we'd actually need to have that
yeah,
kind of set up. So I'll resend it out. We'll take a look at the rules again and make sure that we're clear and make any adjustments we had to based on last year.
yeah.
And maybe we'll even talk about opening it up to Patreons or patrons. So
That's a good
maybe
idea. The patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks, their continued contribution every time we release an episode, which doesn't happen very often. So I guess it doesn't really help out that much, but every little bit helps. If we keep the effort going, then we get to keep charging their bank account surprisingly every couple months. So that's kind of fun. If you're still a patron, we greatly appreciate your support. I don't have the list of top patrons on me right now because I was not quite prepared, but I will happily thank them in our private Discord that we have. That is a Patreon exclusive. Head over to
Work.
yes.
Well, cool. This was fun, guys. This was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. We should do it again sometime.
Well, given that the summer movie season is coming up, we probably have within about a 3 week period where we should probably try to record again, which kind of works out really well too because I know things get busy end of May for everybody's schedules and vacation and stuff. So we'll probably be recording again soon. So
Awesome.
no definite date, just kind of keep an eye on your notifications and your favorite podcast player of choice, and guess we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. See you guys. Thanks.
See ya.
You know, I actually forgot how we end the show, so I think that
It works.
it should be sufficient right now.
If they